All right, what's up, y'all? Today we're gonna talk about the Vortex Compdot. All right, to start off, let's just kind of go over what I've used this dot for and the history of it. So I have had a Vortex Compdot for about, I've had one of these for about a year. I got it on Black Friday, actually about a year and 6 months. I got it in Black Friday, a year and a half ago. And it was just kind of on a fun range gun for 8-9 months, something like that. And then last summer, I put it on my Glock 47 and I used it to shoot nationals, and I've been shooting it in comps ever since then. So I shot about, I don't know, probably 500, 600 rounds at nationals, and then, I don't know, yeah, probably around 4,000 rounds through it since I got it. If you'll notice here, this is not a comp dot, this is a Defender XL, and we'll go into that here in a little bit. So the biggest problem with the Vortex comp dots is, and kind of the Defender series in general, or the Defender XLs in general, is the battery door. And so about 2 months ago, right before South Carolina sectional, I had a battery flicker issue, and I'll put the video of the stage on here. And the dot just shut off in the middle of the stage, and I whacked it and it didn't come back on. So after that, though, I could just push the button and turn it back on. And so I didn't have time to send it back in to get it replaced, and I didn't have another dot to put back on that gun in time for South Carolina section, so I just shot that dot throughout the match, knowing if it turned off, I could just push the button and turn it back on. It never happened. I ran the 400 rounds, the 12 stages or something like that, perfectly fine. It ran, no issues with it. Then about a week after that, I shot a 2-gun match, and on like my 3rd stage of the day, it died. And I was able to turn it back on after I shot the stage. Again, it was fine. But it did shut off, and then after that it got progressively worse to where pulling the trigger in dry fire, it would shut off and I'd have to turn it back on with the button. So I went ahead and sent it back to Vortex, and we'll get into that later. So that's one very big glaring obvious issue with the dot. If I was less than 5,000 rounds through it and it would just die randomly. The other issue I didn't like too much with that dot is I had it on kind of a fun gun for, I probably shot 1,000 rounds through it. Never used it in competition or trained with it seriously until I put it on my main training gun. The only issue that it had, other than the battery door issue, was the dot would just starburst just a hair. I think it was just because it was a little bit dirty and I never got it properly, like the lens cleaned on the emitter. But other than that, I really like these dots. So kind of a couple, we'll go through some of the pros of the dot before we go into why it died and all of that. The 5 MOA version, I'm not a huge fan of 5 MOA dots generally, but this one, it makes a really clean dot. Like here in the really bright sunlight, I have a really clean 5 MOA dot with not a lot of starbursting. So it makes it really easy to turn it down. And with my astigmatism, I get a nice clean dot that's smaller than the hollow sun, like 2 MOA, with it bright enough for me to see during the sun. The other advantage of it is because it's 5 MOA, I can go a lot brighter. And right there, that's way brighter, even in the bright sunlight, than I'll ever need. So if I was directly getting hit in the face with sunlight, like if I pointed up at the sun, like at a cloud right underneath the sun, I can still very obviously see a crisp, clear dot. So the other couple other nice things about these is on the battery, they're not running the small battery like the hollow suns do. They're running a 2032, so it has great battery life. I never replaced the battery until I started having issues with it. It was never giving me any issues with the battery. It was perfectly fine for probably over a year of dry firing every day with it would be fine. And like not turning it off when I'm done with it, like leaving it pretty bright. So the other thing I like about these, which is kind of controversial, is it's running the Delta Point Pro footprint instead of the RMR footprint like most of the hollow sun stuff does. I like the mounting system on these. It has 4 pegs, or 4 holes for pegs. So when you stick this dot on the gun, you can turn it upside down and shake it, and it won't come off, even without screws in it. And that's also due to the fact that I have an Arise manufacturing plate on here, which while they're a little bit expensive, I don't have to worry about the plate coming off, the dot coming off, any of that. It's gonna stay on there because, like I said, I can put the dot on it, like it clicks into place, and then shake the gun and it won't come off with screws not in it. So the screws are just adding the little bit of extra pressure on there, but none of the actual force is on. Kind of along that same line, the housing, you can kind of tell if you look at it, it's really beefy aluminum, whereas the hollow suns are a little bit weaker and the glass protrudes from the front of the hollow suns, which makes them very susceptible to, I've done this. I was dry firing, like when I was learning scoop draw, I was dry firing, drawing a Hollow-Sun 507 comp, and I just whacked it with like this when I was trying to learn to scoop draw. I whacked it, and it came out of the holster, went bump right on concrete, and starburst the entire lens. And I'm not worried about having that issue with these. And if it did happen, the Vortex warranty is awesome. So like I said, I have a Defender XL here that they sent me after my Compdot died. It was literally a week from when I sent the dot to when I got the next one. Even though it took like 3 days for the dot to actually get to them, like within a day or two, they had sent me another one, and then I was just waiting for shipping on both ends. And within a week, I had another dot, brand new dot. I haven't had any issues with this. I put about 1,000 rounds through it in training in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, something like that. And this one, I like the battery mounting system a little bit better. It's just a couple tiny little changes compared to the Compdot. So I have a feeling it's gonna last a little bit better than the Compdot did, but if I have to replace it, I know it's very easy. Same thing if I did something stupid and broke it, I'm not worried about that at all. I really do like these. Like I said, I put about 1,000 rounds on this one since I got it like a week and a half ago, something like that. And the 5MOA dot, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I'm standing here with targets at about 120 yards, and I have a 10 by 12 inch plate down there. And I can put the dot in the head box, or it's a reduced C zone, I think. So I can put the plate in the head box, or I can put the dot in the head box on that plate, and it doesn't quite cover the whole head box. So like, if I can hit inside that at 120 yards, that's plenty. I also have some targets down there at about probably 75 to 80, something like that. They're just IPSC. There's a tux down there to put the dot on it. It is covering, like it's wide enough to cover the entire A zone on a tux, but like if you're ever shooting at 80 yards with a pistol, I could probably get hits in the A zone on an IPSC target at that distance and not have to worry about it, because the gun's going to be less accurate than 5MOA, most likely. So I really do like these dots. I definitely recommend them. They're a little bit expensive, but you're paying for the warranty of literally always having a dot like for the rest of your life as long as you want to run these. So that's really nice. We'll see how long this lasts. I'll do another review on the XL Defender after I have 5,000, 6,000, or it breaks, rounds on it, something like that. But it'll probably be about the same thing as the Compdot. But I got it on sale from Shields a couple years, like a year and a half ago, something like that. And for like $199, it was impossible to beat that dot, even though I did have to buy a plate for it. But the plate ended up being better than I thought. I just used the Vortex plate. So speaking of the Vortex stuff, so this is what the Compdot comes with. It has a whole bunch of screws, like cleaning cloth. And then these screws, which there are a bunch of them, are labeled really nicely. And it also comes with, the Compdot comes with a pick rail mount. And like I was saying with the screws, they are labeled with the size and what they're used for, which compared to the Hollow-Sun stuff is leaps and bounds ahead. And they all have Loctite pre-applied to them. Nothing to complain about there. The Defender XL does come with a plate, but like I said, I'm not using that plate. So that's not really, I'm not gonna put that in my review because this is for the Compdot. Nice packaging. It says the battery life at setting 6 is 25,000 hours. I would tend to believe that for how long they've lasted in the guns that I've had them on, or the gun that I've had them on. I just don't have to worry about battery. I change all my batteries generally on my optics and everything on my birthday every year, and I haven't had to worry about dots going dead yet. All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.